What is good? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chuck. Thank you very much for being here. We have a few things to talk about today. Just going to be touching on the market, where I think things could be going over really the next year, as well as comparing Surging Sparks to Vivid Voltage. I think there are some pretty glaring differences um, between the two sets. This might be the first look we have at Ascended Heroes, which the name was finally confirmed. Um, the box looks pretty legit. I know it says mock-up image, but there is a little bit of credence being led to it being real, so TBD on that. Either way, I don't think it matters. I think it'll look pretty similar or decent. But the set is shaping up to be pretty good. Gengar, Charizard Y, right? Um, we just got a Psyduck release. It's similar to the Misty vibe, where he's kind of half out of the water, half in. And I think this set will do very, very well. I have a feeling the Dragonite card, as dumb as the Mega Evolution is, will probably be really good. Typically the kind of set mascot for a a card set is has a pretty good art, and I'm just really excited overall about the Mega Block. I think we're entering kind of unprecedented territory with Pokemon, where we're in some type of downturn right now. This is Pokemon card search results over, I mean, since of all time, but mainly over the last 2 years, I wanted to point out. Relative to the last bull market, it's pretty clear that while I think that was a huge, huge time for the hobby, this is a much bigger move up. Um, we've never really seen anything like this, and having this type of market uncertainty is somewhat new right after a bull run. I think the difference is that the sets that are coming out aren't Scarlet and Violet early block sets that people weren't really excited about. The Mega Evolution block is shaping up to be, in my opinion, one of the best kind of blocks of card sets that we've ever gotten. And it's clear, even Mega Evolution, base it's a phenomenal first entry into the block. Phantasmal, in my opinion, is weaker, but the Mega Charizard is genuinely one of the best cards we've ever received. And now we have Mega Dream coming up in January, which I think is really interesting timing, because this month we have all types of collection boxes coming with Black Friday. We have Prismatic next month. We have some Lucario boxes being released here, some 151 mini tins there. People are still buying. It's definitely depleted some. And I think people are just feeling a bit exhausted right now. And everything is kind of in limbo in the world. Trump cut some tariffs recently to help affordability, for groceries, beef, you know, tomatoes, bananas, things like that, right? And the base 10% tariff has been upended, which is, I think, probably good news for the market because it removes some uncertainty. I don't think consumers will be feeling the effect of this for quite some time, similar to how they were first implemented. But it is something that is feeding into everything happening. Obviously, in many people's opinion, we are in an AI bubble when you have all these companies being invested into and then investing in other companies, and you're having products that aren't really turning a profit compared to the investment. AGI is the goal. We have not achieved that yet. We're pretty far away from that, I imagine. For instance, at companies I know people work at that you would recognize, um, there's all types of like AI tools being forced upon people, and they're just not that productive and they're not that accurate. And yeah, that can improve um, in the future, but they're also replacing entry level jobs. So if you're a fresh grad right now, it can be pretty tough out there to build your resume. So I don't know. You see a lot of money in the market move away from things that are more risk on and more risk off, like treasury bonds have been outperforming Bitcoin this year. Um, when the market is sick, Bitcoin catches a cold. And that's kind of the saying. Whether you believe it's coordinated or not is irrelevant because it is. Um, you know, Bitcoin is like 90K right now, and with potential to drop even more. We don't really know what's going to happen. However, if you have been around for long enough, if you have been around for long enough, you know that eventually things will move up again. Okay? Now is the time, in my opinion, to dollar cost average into sets that you feel strong about for good prices, because buyers actually have some leverage and some negotiating power at the moment. All right. And that has changed over the past few months. And it could actually remain this way throughout the entirety of next year. Um, we have seen demand for sets like Sword and Shield era sets, and Scarlet and Violet era sets drop, even though there's like relatively good arguments to make for many sets being great buys. I think it's going to come down to a number of factors, and I can't tell you the individual what to do, because you're going to live in a different area, you're going to have a different financial circumstance, you're going to have a certain amount of experience investing. And so when you're watching PokeTubers, just please keep that in mind. Now is the time to learn and make sound investing decisions over a long period of time. I do think 2026 will continue kind of on this track of somewhat stagnated, but somewhat kind of hype too. With the new releases coming out, I think there will be hype for those sets, especially with the 30th anniversary. And there will be opportunities on some of these older eras, the good sets in these older eras. And I would even consider Scarlet and Violet, once we get towards the end of the Mega Block into the 30th and then into Wind and Wave, to be entering that conversation. But I happen to believe that now is a good time for many of these sets. So just be safe, make sound investments, and have conviction in what you're buying, because if things get worse, your conviction will go down, but the opportunity will increase. And those at the top who have seen things, who have seen the cycles play out, will capitalize on those opportunities. As a PokeTuber, I make money from making videos, from sponsors, from you watching, which I'm so thankful for. But I would never recommend anything that I wouldn't also buy. I've bought probably 12 Surging Sparks boxes over the last month or so. I think my average cost is pretty close to $200 at the moment, because I had some under, closer to MSRP. But also keep in mind that the money that I'm using is play money. It's money that I don't need right now. Now, money is money. Maybe I will need it in the future. Who knows? Bar any accident or something bad, right? I mean, I don't want that to happen for anybody, but the money that I make from YouTube, I reinvest directly into Pokemon. I reinvest it into giveaways, I reinvest it into product I buy, and then I make videos on how I feel about the market, and I keep doing that. And I think there's a lot of value in the community that we have, but it's something that you, as a viewer, need to keep in mind as well. That sometimes videos are not made in your best interest, they are made to maximize views. I think all PokeTubers are somewhat guilty of this, because we all want our videos to do well, which is why I tend to focus more on the content in my video as opposed to the title, which can admittedly be a little bit more clickbaity. But then you open up the video, you see a guy sitting in his office / guest bedroom with a horrible background yapping for like 20 minutes. But just be careful with the content that you consume. And I think more importantly, build cases as to why you feel that something is a good investing product. Because I have so many viewers who come on my stream or on my channel, they say, hey, I have this scenario, should I do this? I have this thing I should buy, should I do this? I have this thing I should sell, should I sell? And I open those, and I welcome those questions, because it allows me an opportunity to kind of challenge the underlying thinking without knowing much about your individual situation. And so answers that you get may not always be the best answers for you, just because some of that nuance is lost. Um, and when you're watching PokeTubers, a lot of times advice, or not that it's financial advice, but it is thoughts on the market, may not be as applicable to you. Okay. For instance, somebody with $100,000 can go ahead and buy whatever new set that comes out at a high price because they don't need the money. They're going to hold on for the long term. They've been around for 15 years. It's like a different way of thinking, you know? Now, I would argue that's maybe not a good plan, but I can argue that everything will go up eventually, which I do believe with enough time. So just be careful with what you consume and what you do, and try to pull from different resources. But with that being said, just to talk about Surging Sparks, I've seen a lot of comparisons made to Vivid Voltage, right? I mean, it is a Pikachu set. That is true. And there are some kind of similarities just vibe wise. Both helped kickstart the bull market. Vivid Voltage, especially because the sets before it were so bad. The 3 sets that were released were just terrible. Surging's a little different because we had success in Scarlet and Violet. Twilight Masquerade really kind of started kicking things off when Greninja was showed as a card that could actually be valuable and desired. And then Surging came out and it was a Pikachu and it was expensive, and then that was kind of the beginning. And then Prismatic hit the home run, right? But Surging to me is a clearly defined top box of the era, where Vivid Voltage was released at the beginning of the era and got absolutely nuked by the quality that came out after. Now, I think that could happen a little bit with Surging as the Mega Block comes out. I don't think that's going to happen with the beginning of Wind and Wave. But when I look at Surging Sparks as a booster box opportunity, potentially being dried up, by the way, fewer and fewer boxes are hitting Facebook. I don't even know if we're getting them in vending machines anymore. I think they may have stopped. Correct me if I'm wrong. In most areas, the machines have switched to now Mega and Phantasmal. So Phantasmal prices are probably going to drop. But when I look at Surging, you have a Pikachu that a lot of people don't love, the butthole Pikachu, right? But some people do, and it is very expensive. And it was as expensive as the Chonkachu that was like $250, $300 when it on release, and then eventually dropped, of course. But I think this is a much better art, obviously, than a rainbow card. Then you have Latias, you have Milotic, 2 phenomenal cards, 2 of the better cards of the entire Scarlet and Violet era, in my opinion. And these alone destroy anything that's in the set. I mean, basically, I have a bunch of rainbow cards, some trainer cards, and an amazing rare Rayquaza that, were cool on release, but they haven't aged very well. Whereas these cards, I think, will continue to actually appreciate over time, uh, with a little more time, of course. And then that's not even mentioning the Latios, Hydreigon, Ceruledge, as well as some other kind of supporting trainers and illustration rares like Skarmory. Like this cast form is pretty cool. Now, Surging isn't my favorite set ever, but I do think it's pretty solid, and I think for the price point, where literally locally you can buy for $200 to $210 all day long, sometimes in many cases even lower, it just represents a great opportunity. And it's a symptom of the market that we're in right now, where demand has dropped, the availability hits, and all of a sudden people don't feel as convicted. But if you asked people 6 months ago about Surging Sparks, they would have felt a lot stronger because the box price was higher, right? This was a $300 box this year, which is crazy. So last time in 2016 there was a 4-year lull. 2021 there was like a 3-year lull. Maybe we have less of a lull because the Mega Block will be so good, and then we rip in 2027 or 2028. But one thing I'll know for sure is that this box will be more than $200. I think by the end of next year, it'll be over 2 years old, and I think it'll be closer to $300 pretty comfortably. I doubt we get a ton more booster boxes of this set with everything else coming out. Really believe that. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And then I, give it another year, it gets rotated out. I think $400, $500, 2027, 2028 is very, very feasible. End of 2028, I could see it being $600-700 pretty easily. Not to mention rip and shipping being what it is, what it has been. It's not going to go away. It might drop a little bit with demand, but that's everything. And then on the next bull run, there will be even fewer of this product compared to something like Sword and Shield, which is one of the main arguments against Sword and Shield, in my opinion. It missed the huge wave of rip and shipping that we saw with Scarlet and Violet. So there's a lot of opportunities out there like this right now. I think this is one of the best investments you can make at the moment, given its age, given history of what Pokemon has shown us, given where demand is. Still pretty high for this set as the price drops. So, just pay attention to everything. These are the types of things that I think about when I approach a set as an investment. Is it available? How do people feel about it? What type of cards does it have? What are the gem rates? Things like that. And when opportunities like this present itself, I'm willing to weather any storm over the short and midterm because I know long term I have a good plan. I have good conviction. I have good logic thinking about it. I think if you bought Vivid and you compare it to Surging, you would have had a much different mindset. You would have thought this would be the best set of all time, basically. It has a Pikachu on the box, and that's pretty much it. I think Surging has a lot more to offer, and it's proven. That's the difference, and it's at the back end of an era that's now over. So, just some thoughts I had today. I know it's a little bit all over the place, but just wanted to compare Surging to Vivid in this type of market that we're talking about here when things aren't just going up forever and ever. Have confidence, be safe, and think about what you're hearing and who you're hearing it from. Again, I have the giveaway in the Discord. It actually... Oh, wait, did it end? Let me double check. The giveaway ends tomorrow at 5:48 Eastern Time. So you have another day to join. Feel free to join. It is currently 185 entries, so pretty good odds in my opinion. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging out, bettering yourself, finding something enriching, finding something that feels good to do. Maybe it's not Pokemon, maybe it is. I find the market to be pretty fun, but it's a small part of my life. So, appreciate all of you for the support. Like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. It can be whatever. It can be a question about what to buy. It's all good with me. I like to interact. So I will see you very soon in the next one. We'll probably have more news on Ascended Heroes this week. And if this image is wrong, then whatever. Who cares? But we'll probably have more cards too. And once Pokemon announces the set itself officially, we'll probably see a pre-order drop. So could be next week. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.